Michael couldn't hold the microphone right. He was 5, the stand was too tall, and his fingers barely wrapped around the metal. What happened in the next 3 minutes made judges explode from their seats, but nobody saw it coming. 30 seconds earlier, backstage at Gary's Roosevelt High Auditorium, his brother Jackie had whispered something that changed the plan. 15 minutes to curtain. The mic slipped in Michael's grip, cold metal against his palm, heavier than it looked when Jackie held it during rehearsal. The stage floor smelled like old wood and lemon polish. Someone had mopped too recently. His shoes squeaked. "Stand still," his mother Catherine said, adjusting his collar. But standing still didn't fix the problem. The microphone stand reached his forehead. Behind the curtain, he heard chairs scraping, voices layering into a low hum that meant the audience was filling in. The Jackson 5 weren't supposed to go on for another hour. A church choir had the slot. But here's the part you can't miss. The choir's bus broke down on Route 12, and the talent show coordinator, a woman named Mrs. DeWitt, was 3 seconds from canceling the whole night. Jackie crouched next to Michael. "They're putting us on first. You ready?" Michael nodded. His throat felt tight, and the bow tie his mother had tied was choking him slowly. He'd practiced the song 70 times in their living room, standing on a milk crate so he could reach the pretend mic, a wooden spoon wrapped in foil. But the real stage didn't have a crate, and the real microphone didn't stay still. "How's he supposed to sing if he can't even hold it?" Tito muttered from the corner, tuning his guitar. Jackie didn't answer. He looked at Michael, then at the mic stand, then back. "You're gonna have to hold it with both hands. Don't let go." 10 minutes to curtain. Mrs. DeWitt poked her head through the curtain gap. "Jackson boys, you're up in 7. Is the little one ready?" Catherine stepped forward. "He's ready." Michael wasn't sure he was ready. His stomach twisted. From the audience side, a cough echoed, then laughter. Someone told a joke he couldn't hear. The lights hum, a low electric buzz that made his teeth feel funny. Then something happened. Mrs. DeWitt glanced at Michael, at the microphone stand, then pulled a face that said she'd made a mistake putting a kindergartner on stage. She didn't say it out loud, but Michael saw it too. Jackie saw it too. "Ma," Jackie said quietly, "maybe I should—" "No," Catherine cut him off. "Michael sings lead on this one. That was the deal." The deal? 3 weeks ago, during a backyard rehearsal, their neighbor, Mr. Simmons, had stopped raking leaves to listen. When Michael hit the high note in "Climb Every Mountain," Mr. Simmons dropped the rake and walked to the fence. "That child's got something," he said. "You put him out front, people will remember." Their father Joseph had dismissed it at first. Michael was too young, too small, too untested. But Catherine had insisted. 1 song, 1 shot. And now that shot was 6 minutes away, and the microphone was still too tall. Marlon, the second youngest, tugged Michael's sleeve. "What if you stand on something?" "No props on stage," Mrs. DeWitt said sharply. "Fire code." Michael's hands went cold. 5 minutes to curtain. The brothers formed a huddle near the curtain. Jermaine laid out the plan. Instrumental intro, 8 bars, then Michael's vocal entry. "We'll cover if you mess up," Jermaine said. It was meant to help. It didn't. Michael didn't want to mess up. Every performer's nightmare, walking out, opening your mouth, and nothing coming out right. Or worse, something coming out so wrong, the audience stops clapping halfway through. Jackie bent low, eye level with Michael. Listen, you're not going to reach the mic the normal way. So here's what you do. Grab it with both hands, pull it close to your chest, and sing into it like you're telling it a secret. Don't try to be tall. Be exactly who you are. Michael blinked. What if it falls? Then we pick it up and keep going. Backstage, a door slammed. The sound tech, a balding man with a clipboard, checked his watch and gave Mrs. DeWitt a thumbs up. The intro music crackled through the speaker system, a tinny preview that made Tito wince. They need to fix that EQ, he muttered, but there was no time. Mrs. DeWitt clapped her hands twice. Showtime, boys! The curtain split. Stage lights hit like a slap. Michael squinted, his pupils shrinking against the glare. Rows of folding chairs stretched back into shadow. He couldn't see faces, just shapes, silhouettes that shifted and settled. Somewhere a baby cried. Somewhere else a man coughed into his fist. The brothers took their positions. Tito stage left with the guitar. Jermaine center left with the bass line humming under his fingers. Marlon and Jackie flanking right. That left Michael center stage, alone with a microphone stand that looked like a street lamp next to him. The music started. 8 bars. Guitar, bass, a tambourine shake from Jackie. The rhythm locked in, clean and tight, the way they'd practiced. I Want You Back, the song they'd rehearsed until the neighbors knew every word. Michael's cue approached. 4 beats, 3, 2, and his hands reached for the mic. His fingers didn't rap. They pressed, palms flat against the cool metal. And when he tried to lift it from the stand, it tilted. The whole thing swayed. A gasp rippled through the front row. This is the moment everything could have collapsed. The mic tipped forward, the stand's base scraping wood, and Michael's weight shifted with it. He stumbled half a step. The music didn't stop. Jermaine's bass kept the pocket. Tito's guitar kept the groove. And Michael, 5 years old, 70 pounds, fingers barely holding on, pulled the microphone to his chest with both arms like he was hugging it. Then he opened his mouth. The first note came out clear. Not loud. His volume couldn't compete with the older boys yet, but clear, pure, a single tone that carried over the bass line and filled the gaps between the guitar chords. The judge in the front row, a man with thick glasses and a pen poised over a scorecard, stopped writing. He just stopped. This is a 5-year-old who can't hold the mic right, who stumbled, who looked seconds away from crying. But the note held. And when the second phrase started, Michael's voice did something unexpected. It bent. A slight rasp on the edge, a texture that shouldn't exist in a kindergarten throat. The audience leaned forward. Michael sang the first verse with a microphone clutched against his ribs. He didn't look at the judges. He didn't look at the audience. He looked at Jackie, who nodded once, a tiny dip of the chin that said, "Keep going." The second verse came. Michael's grip slipped. He adjusted, both hands squeezing tighter, his knuckles going pale under the stage lights. A bead of sweat rolled past his temple. The bow tie dug into his collar. He kept singing. Here's what nobody expected. Halfway through the bridge, Michael let go with one hand, just one. The mic wobbled, but it didn't fall. He used his free hand to gesture, a small, instinctive movement. his palm turning upward like he was offering something to the room. It was unplanned, unrehearsed, instinctive. The judge with the glasses set his pen down entirely. The final chorus arrived, and Michael's voice rose higher. The older boys layered harmonies behind him, but his melody stood out, the lead unmistakable. His pitch shifted on the last note, a small vocal run he'd practiced quietly. It shouldn't have succeeded. 5-year-olds rarely have that control. But Michael pushed, his diaphragm tightening, his chest lifting, and the note soared. It hung in the air for 2 beats longer than it needed to, vibrato threading through the tail end. And when it finally released, the auditorium went silent. 1 second. 2. Then the judge with the glasses stood up. Not slowly. He shot out of his chair like someone had yanked him by the collar. The woman next to him, a younger judge with a red scarf, followed half a beat later, her scorecard fluttering to the floor. The third judge, an older man in a gray suit, hesitated, his mouth half open. Then he stood too. The front row erupted, clapping, shouting, a man in the back row whistling through his teeth. Michael stood center stage, microphone still clutched in both arms, blinking against the lights, unsure if he'd done something right or something wrong. Jackie ran over. "You did it," he said, grinning so wide it looked like his face might split. "You did it." Michael set the microphone back on the stand, or tried to. It tipped again. This time Jackie caught it, steadied it, and the audience laughed. Not cruel laughter, the kind that says, "We just saw something we'll be talking about tomorrow." Mrs. DeWitt stood in the wings, one hand over her mouth, tears in the corners of her eyes. The sound tech leaned against the wall, shaking his head slowly, like he couldn't quite believe what had just come through his speakers. Backstage, 2 minutes later, Catherine wrapped Michael in her arms before he made it past the curtain. "I knew," she whispered. "I knew you could." Joseph stood 3 feet away, arms crossed, his face unreadable. He didn't smile, he didn't frown. He just looked at Michael for a long moment, then nodded once. That nod meant more than words. It meant Michael had earned his place. The brothers crowded around, slapping his back, messing his hair, Marlon laughing about the microphone wobble. "You look like you were wrestling a snake," he said. "Felt like it too," Michael admitted, his voice hoarse now, the adrenaline draining. The judge with the glasses appeared at the backstage door. "Excuse me, Mrs. Jackson, I need to speak with you." Catherine's smile faltered. "Is something wrong?" "Wrong?" The judge shook his head. "Ma'am, I've been judging talent shows for 11 years. I've never seen—" He paused, searching for words. "That child has a gift. I don't know what you're planning, but if you're not planning something, you should be." Catherine glanced at Joseph. Joseph glanced at Michael, and in that moment, something shifted. A decision unspoken but understood. This wasn't just a backyard hobby anymore. This wasn't just brothers goofing around with instruments. This was real. The kind of real that changes trajectories. The station wagon smelled like vinyl and fast food wrappers. Michael sat in the back between Marlon and Jackie. The trophy, a small gold-painted cup with First Place Junior Division engraved on a plastic plate, resting in his lap. His fingers traced the edges. Outside the window, Gary's streetlights blurred past, orange halos in the October dark. "How'd you know to do that thing with your hand?" Jermaine asked from the front seat. Michael shrugged. "I don't know. It just felt right." "It was right," Jackie said. "It was perfect." Joseph drove without the radio on. The hum of the engine filled the silence. After a long stretch, he spoke, his voice low and even. "We're gonna need better equipment, a real PA, microphones that adjust." He glanced at Catherine. "This costs money." Catherine reached over, squeezed his hand. "We'll find it." Michael stared at the trophy. In the reflection of the gold paint, he could see his own face, distorted and small. He thought about the microphone stand, how tall it had seemed, how heavy the mic had felt. He thought about the judge standing up, the sound of the audience clapping, the way his voice had filled the room, even when he couldn't feel his hands around the equipment. Jackie had been right. He didn't need to be tall. He just needed to be exactly who he was. The car turned onto their street. Porch lights glowed yellow in the distance. Tomorrow, they'd rehearse again. Tomorrow, someone might call about another show. Tomorrow, the microphone might still be too tall. But tonight, Michael had learned something every performer eventually learns. Sometimes the obstacle isn't the problem. Sometimes the obstacle is the point. You don't fight it. You don't ignore it. You hold on with both hands and sing anyway. And if you do it right, if you mean every word, if you give everything you have, even when the setup's wrong and the odds are stacked, people stand up. Not because you were perfect, because you were real. 15 years later, Michael would perform on stages around the world. Microphones custom-built for his grip, lighting rigs that followed his every move. Audiences in the thousands, then tens of thousands, then more. But he'd never forget the first time a judge stood up. The first time his voice made a room go silent, then explode. And he'd never forget the lesson learned in that moment. When the microphone's too big and your hands are too small, you don't wait for someone to fix it. You grab on, you pull it close, and you sing like the room depends on it. Because sometimes it does.